Greetings from Darrell K. Royal, Texas Memorial Stadium, and to the flagship podcast recap of Texas's 34-31 victory over number 9 Vanderbilt at Darrell K. Royal, Texas Memorial Stadium. I am Chip Brown of Horns247.com, joined as always by my esteemed colleague and proud Tampa Catholic graduate, the one and only Eric Henry of Horns 24/7. Eric, Texas was back home for the first time in 42 days, having played 4 straight games away from home. I don't know if this game could have gotten off to a better start for Texas. Arch Manning hits Ryan Wingo on what seemed like the same receiver screen that they started the game with against Mississippi State last week. That one went for 60. This one went for 75 yards and a touchdown on the first play of the game. And then Colin Simmons gets a strip sack of Diego Pavia on Vanderbilt's first offensive possession. And Texas was up at one point in this game. They were up 34-10, Eric. But I thought the story was Arch Manning. He comes off concussion protocol and he goes off, comes up big when they needed him to do it. And he finishes the game 25 of 33 passing, 328 yards, 3 touchdowns, and really played a brilliant third quarter because Vanderbilt held the ball for more than 10 minutes in the second quarter, Eric. And it looked like Diego Pavia was getting into a rhythm. So what does Arch Manning do? He comes out in the third quarter and hogs the ball. Texas holds the ball for more than 10 minutes. They outscore Vanderbilt 10-0, and that gave them that 34-10 cushion. And Eric, they needed every bit of it.
Yeah, Chip, you talked about Arch Manning's bounce back game. I got to start with the offense as a whole, Chip. The thing that stood out to me, and the thing that I have been rather critical of Steve Sarkisian all season long, is when is this offense going to put together a consistent game for 4 quarters? Now, no, you'll look at the final score and say 34-10 and say, oh, man, well, they went into the fourth quarter 34-10. All right, I'm not going to hold that against the offense, Chip, right? I can't, I don't want to, be so critical that I can't acknowledge the things that went really well. Let's start Mississippi State. Texas goes on a 2-play, 63-yard drive, scores touchdown, their first touchdown against Power 4 competition, first quarter touchdown against Power 4 competition, and then the ensuing 34 plays in the first half, Chip proceed to get 63 yards of total offense, right? This was the exact opposite. They got 171 first quarter yards, 17 first quarter points, both season highs for this offense. And as you said, they needed every bit of that. We'll come to that in a second. We'll see what you make of the fourth quarter comeback from the Commodores. But again, what really impressed me, Chip, is things looked easy. It didn't look as if Texas was having to manufacture things. They weren't necessarily depending on the home run ball, right? We saw the first play, as you said, looked very reminiscent of the touchdown play, the big chunk play at Mississippi State. You get a swing pass to Ryan Wingo. And Chip, how many times have we talked about this, right? Texas maybe needing to get the quick passing game and guys in short area quickness, right? Guys who are shifty. Well, but if Ryan Wingo is going to catch the ball and run like a freight train and get the kind of blocking he got from Emmett Mosley and DeAndre Moore, that will work just the same, right? So you saw, and Steve Sarkisian talked about it post-game, them wanting to work the perimeter, them wanting to kind of air things out, not air it vertically, but work with a little more in space, play with a little more space like you had seen in previous years from Texas football. So that is encouraging to me, Chip. I'm sure most folks, and I'm sure you'll want to talk about the defense in the second half. This is kind of where I'll start for me. I'll have to go back and look at some of the film, back and look at the game, which I can't do that because a certain service is out right now. I won't bash them on a live stream. I don't know who we may be in business with. However, I'll find a way to go back and look at the film. It felt to me, Chip, like the last 8-9 minutes of the game, Texas did try to get some different people in the game. Cade Phillips, Jonah Williams, Warren Roberson, etc. I'll have to go back and look at it, but I'm not quite ready to throw the entire defense out just because 24 points were scored. I genuinely feel that you play a little bit softer, you put some backups in, maybe that accounts for certain things, Chip.
Yeah, and you can't do that with Diego Pavia because the guy is the Cam Scattaboo of quarterbacks. He's going to keep attacking you like a honey badger. And I mean, it was the defense, all the credit in the world. They've been playing without Michael Taft. They end up losing Jelani McDonald, their other starting safety, in the first half. Malik Muhammad came out for a while, went back in, but he may not have been completely right because we did see a lot of, Ward Roberson, Kobe Black, Cade Phillips at the corner opposite of Jalen Gilbo. And look, Xavier Filsaime is going to be a good player. He's a little light, and he got run over on a touchdown pass where he could have, made a stop at about the 5-yard line, and he got run over, and Vanderbilt scored. In the third quarter, we started to see the defense get a little careless in terms of penalties. 4 penalties for 40 yards. They were costly. And then the missed tackles, the struggles, and busted coverage. I mean, my gosh, you give Diego Pavia a 67-yard touchdown pass on a 10-second scoring drive. That's how Vanderbilt got back into this thing. That, and Ethan Burke gets a 3rd down sack at the Vanderbilt 2. It's 4th and 19, Eric, and Diego Pavia completes a 21-yard pass that extends a drive to a touchdown. And then they get the 2-point conversion, after replay, whether or not Junior Sherrill broke the plane of the goal line or not, the ref said he did. And so it turned into an absolute, comedy of errors for Texas and an almost incredible comeback because it came right down to the onside kick with 33 seconds left. The ball goes through Parker Livingston's hands. It was there for the taking, but no Vanderbilt player could corral the ball before it went out of bounds. So Texas didn't have to, live with what Diego Pavia could have done with those final seconds if Vanderbilt had recovered that onside kick. I think, Eric, you look back at some of the, the key performances. You mentioned Emmett Mosley. With Wingo out, he ends up catching 7 balls on 10 targets, including the 6-yard touchdown catch. That gives him 3 touchdown catches in the last 2 games. Man, he looks comfortable and reliable. DeAndre Moore, played really well. And then defensively, Ethan Burke sort of picked up where Colin Simmons left off in the first half. Simmons was unbelievable. I mean, after Vanderbilt's first 2 possessions, he had 1.5 tackles for loss, a sack, a forced fumble, a recovered fumble, and 2 quarterback hurries. Ethan Burke in the second half had 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss. And Ethan Burke told us after the game, we should have ended the game on my sack when it was, 4th and 19. Can't give up 4th and 19, Eric. Your thoughts on, what was going on there with the defense as Vanderbilt made its comeback?
Yeah, kind of like I led with, I did genuinely feel, I have to go back and look at some of the film, go back and look at the replay of the game. It felt to me, because I want to look at the coverages, like not necessarily playing soft coverages, but it's, hey, we're going to give you certain things. We're going to let you run down the clock. Now, you made a point that I didn't, that I should have acknowledged, right? You can't have the busted coverage score, right? If you give up a score like that, then that's the difference between this being a 34-31 game, a 34-24 game, right? A score like that. So that's one thing. As you mentioned, was it 4th and 19? I was on the field, Chip. Was it 4th and 19 and they got the 21-yard first down conversion? Those things, I don't care who's playing on the field. You can't have those things happen, right? So I'm going to put those to the side for a second. Outside of that, it felt like, again, there was an effort. You saw Cade Phillips, Jonah Williams. I get a chance to see who may have played on the defensive line to get some other guys in the game. With that being said, Chip, I'm going to go a little bit earlier in the game and kind of pick up where you left off. You talked about Colin Simmons having a great game, Anthony Hill being aggressive. I said this to you in the press box. I don't think we can take this point for granted, Chip. We'll see where the rest of the season takes us. However, I think Texas's defense, which is still a top 3, 4, 5 defense in the nation and has been for the better part of the last 2 years. And of course, the run defense was excellent in 2023. I don't think you can overestimate, or I guess I say underestimate, Chip, this defense's ability to be next level great, next level aggressive, next level attacking when they're playing with a lead, or at least kind of playing square, right? That to me, I think is so crucial. I'm not expecting Texas to jump out to a 17-0 lead at Georgia or against Texas A&M. Hell, I wasn't expecting them to jump out to a 17-0 lead here at home against number 9 team in the nation. However, if this offense can do some of the things they're able to do today, get a quick score where your defense isn't out there, having to play 80 plus plays, right? They're allowed to catch their breath a little bit, play with a little bit of a lead, even if it's a 3-point advantage, Chip, a 6-point advantage. I think that allows this defense to play with a measure of aggressiveness that they haven't been able to do. They haven't been able to showcase. Now, I'll add one more caveat. Maybe they were able to play aggressive because let's just call a spade, Chip. I know Diego Pavia finished with a career high in passing yards. He's 360 something. But for the most part, he wasn't beating this Texas defense over the top, right? Maybe that helped Texas's defense play with level of aggressiveness. But I do genuinely believe one of my biggest takeaways defensively for this team, if we spin it forward, is if this offense can help them out, at least give them an opportunity to play neck and neck, or with a little bit of a lead, you get to see a different level of this Texas defense. And I said to you, I think they can win you a game playing from behind or playing neck and neck. But it's national championship level good when they can at least play with a little bit of a lead, Chip.
Well, they're going to have an off week after playing, 5 in a row, 4 of them away from Austin. The players sounded like this off week is going to be much appreciated. And then it's reset and head to Athens to take on Georgia. And this is where we're going to find out, Eric, what progress Texas has really made, because we saw the defense give up a bunch of yards at Kentucky, but it was, bend but don't break. They didn't give up points. Then against Mississippi State, Jeff Levy and his tempo offense had success, and it was a shootout, and Arch Manning was up for the fight and played a brilliant fourth quarter. Matt Caldwell comes in, throws the touchdown pass in overtime, and the defense closes the door. Today, the offense, as you mentioned, gave the defense a nice big cushion to play with. And then the fourth quarter turned into, a Benny Hill episode. But if they can because there was progress on the offensive line, the move of Cole Hudson from center to left guard was notable. Vanderbilt's a solid defense, and this offensive line was able to protect Arch Manning and run the ball for 100 yards. It wasn't a lot, Eric, but it was enough to stay balanced, to hold the ball for more than 10 minutes in the third quarter. Now they've got to get better from here. I mean, it's got to go up, because if it takes any step back, they will lose at Georgia. And Steve Sarkisian said, look, we're used to playing these, survive and advance games for the last 23 and 24. They had to do it. And they're certainly having to do it now. And we'll see how this team takes this. Do they, go into this off week and relax, or do they go into this off week, get healthy, and get determined, Eric? Because, beating Vanderbilt, I know it sounds crazy, but this was a significant step. Vanderbilt's the top 10 team now, or was. And so, we've seen Georgia. They've won shootouts against Tennessee. Gunnar Stockton, he's up for a shootout. Now it looks like Arch Manning is capable, and maybe this offensive line is capable. We know Kirby's going to send the house, but your thoughts as Texas goes into this off week with Georgia on the horizon? Yeah,
you talked about it, and that's kind of where, I'll transition as we wind this thing down. Steve Sarkisian talked about postgame. You said it, right? This team's been through the wars in 2023 and 2024. Well, respect to Steve Sarkisian, I want to push back a little bit on that, right? I think the guys who've been through the wars in 2023 and 2024 are earning a paycheck on Sundays, right? With all due respect. I mean, you have some of those guys like Anthony Hill, Ethan Burke. We talked to one in Jalen Gilbo. You have Trey Weiser. You have enough guys that can spread the message. But I think what was just as significant, and Steve talked about it post-game, was this 4-game stretch, Chip, because that was the time for guys like Colin Simmons, Emmett Mosley, Ryan Wingo. We can run down the list of Jack Endries, just off the top of my head, right? Guys who are either stepping into new players or stepping into new roles on this team, right? For them to get out there and see, hey, we can be down 17 points at Mississippi State. Cowbell's going crazy, come up with a win. We can be in a dogfight with Kentucky and somehow find a way to win. We can bounce back from a disappointing loss at Florida and win the Red River Shootout. I think that was just as important. And carrying that into Georgia, I'll say this right now. The fact that this team went 3-1 and was able to come out and execute the way they did for the better part of 45 minutes, you could say, it should have been 60, for the better part of 45 minutes, that gives me, as someone who covers this team, at least more confidence to say, hey, this is a neck and neck type game that I think most Texas fans should be more excited for heading into the game in Athens, Chip.
Yeah, and that's going to be the selling point from Steve Sarkisian. We have not played a complete game yet, unless you count Sam Houston, which we don't count.
Right.
So, they played a good second half against Oklahoma. They played a good first half, pretty complete against Vanderbilt, really 3 quarters, because the offense was dominant in the third quarter. Arch Manning, again, 11 of 14 passing in the third quarter, converted 3 of 4 third downs, led the offense to a 10-0 shutout of Vanderbilt in that third quarter. Texas ends up converting 7 of 11 third downs today, and some really big catches on third down. You didn't have the drops that Arch Manning had to deal with a week ago from, Ryan Wingo had a couple drops, Endries, Quintravian Wisner had drops. And I thought Arch showed really good touch today. I just thought his presence, and Cole Hudson said after the game, I've never seen Arch this excited after a game. Like, he really, enjoyed this one, and he should, because he came through on a day where the defense really needed Arch Manning to have the third quarter and really the whole game that he had, because as we said, Texas was up 34-10 and needed every one of those 34 points after getting shut out 21-0 in the fourth quarter, Eric, right down to that last onside kick. Any other notables, Eric, before we, as we wrap it up here from DKR after Texas's 34-31 win over Vanderbilt?
Yeah, Chip, this will be in my 4 downs column, which will be out Sunday. It'll be in the quick take section, but going to throw out one quick take here, right? It's notable. It didn't seem notable at the time, but when you look back at the final score, it feels a little notable. And Chip, I don't know if you want to opine on this any. The decision at the end of the first half to go Hail Mary twice, I was willing, and this is just me putting on my coaching hat, I would have been willing to give Mason Shipley a shot from 60-something, right? Now, I understand we're seeing kickers make, long-range field goals in the NFL like it's nothing. There's some circumstances that you don't have here at college, but still, Mason Shipley has a kick in his career of 57, 58, 59 plus, right? Then you get the 5-yard penalty. It goes up to, or comes down, I should say, to a 58-yarder. I don't know, Chip. It's just me. I would have liked to have seen Steve Sarkisian give Mason Shipley the opportunity, considering all we've heard is that he has range from a certain level. And in his career, he's made a kick of 58 plus. Considering the fact that Arch Manning threw the ball out of the back of the end zone, and this isn't a critique on Arch. That's a tough Hail Mary throw to make from like inside the 40, right? Because you're trying to get enough air on it, but also leave it in bounds. I would have wanted to have seen Steve Sarkisian give Mason Shipley the shot. I understand the probably natural coach speaks, or I shouldn't coach speak, but the coaching answer would say, well, if they come in and block it, right, then who knows what happens. But that's the only little thing I would say. I will be in my quick takes part of my 4 downs, that you look back at this final score, maybe you would have needed those 3 points, Chip.
Yeah, I think that's fair. You and I were, sitting next to each other, and I think we both were like, the wind was blowing in the direction that Mason Shipley would have been kicking that field goal. So, we saw him, kick a 53-yarder into the wind against OU. Now he missed one from 51 today, but yeah, I agree with you. And I'll say this. There were some tough moments out there in the fourth quarter for the defense, but you're seeing Colin Simmons, Anthony Hill, Ethan Burke, the guys who have to provide the pass rush. Brad Spence had a sack today. So did Trey Moore. Those are the guys you count on to get to the quarterback, and they did. And so, as tough as it was in the fourth quarter for the defense to sack Diego Pavia 6 times, which I think is right at how many times he's been sacked, going into the game for the season for them. I mean, I think he's only been sacked 7 times. So kudos to, that pass rush, 10 tackles for loss. They're getting after people up front, and they got after Blake Shapen a week ago, which allowed the offense to kind of claw their way back in from that, 2 17-point deficits in the fourth quarter. So that's a good sign. You need your best players to be playing their best. And I thought those guys, really came through for Texas. Ryan Niblett got 1 punt return today. That's all. And Jack Bomeister only punted once, and it was a short field punt. So the offense needed to come through today. They didn't have to rely on Ryan Niblett with his punt return heroics to be competitive in this game, Eric, and that's good. You can't live like that. Steve Sarkisian said that this week. We can't keep living like this, where Ryan Niblett's punt returns are the things that are bailing out this Texas team in terms of offense. Again, 2 double-digit play drives in the third quarter after Vanderbilt had dominated the second quarter. That was a big step forward for Arch Manning, for this offensive line. Let's see if they can take it up a notch, because they'll need to after they come off this off week. They'll hope to have Michael Taft, Jelani McDonald back at safety. And that's going to be huge, because Michael Taft is the command center back there. I feel like, give him his flowers. We haven't seen those kind of coverage busts when he's on the field. And Steve Sarkisian saying that he hopes to have Taft and Jelani McDonald back against Georgia, I think pretty much validates the fact that they're a different defense when those two are on the field, Eric.
Yeah, no, listen, I would agree with you. You talk about the fact that they had that coverage bust. I think that also plays a factor if you're taking into account all factors, Chip, in the fourth quarter comeback for Vandy. So getting Michael Taft back, getting Jelani McDonald back. Listen, Jelani McDonald's been playing great football, right? I mean, sure, is he Michael Taft level right now? No, but he certainly has been playing well, right? So let's not discount those factors. Also, Manny Muhammad, a couple times he was off the field as well. So let's not discount those factors in the comeback for Vandy.
Yeah. All right. What a game. Impressive win for Texas. Getting up early, holding on late. But they take down Diego Pavia, the Cam Scadaboo of quarterbacks, and he lived up to it in the fourth quarter. Good heavens. I thought it was going to be a clear knockout for Arch Manning in terms of who was the better quarterback today. And then Diego had his fourth quarter. But it turns out Arch Manning had done enough in helping in this offensive line and everyone else. Emmett Mosley, Quatravian Weiser, it's not just Arch, but they needed Arch to be, 25 of 33 for 328 yards and 3 touchdowns good today, and he was. All right, so for Eric Henry, I am Chip Brown of horns247.com. Please like and subscribe to the Horns 24/7 YouTube channel and become an annual member over at Horns 24/7 so that you get all the scoop. For football, basketball, baseball, you name it, we got you covered on every front of the 40 acres. Signing off from Darrell K. Royal Texas Memorial Stadium, where Texas beats Vanderbilt 34-31. He's Eric Henry. I'm Chip Brown. Stay safe